Is the Crusader Pistol any good? What about the Anti-Armor or even the Bloodied versions? Well, that's what I will test today. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. The Crusader Pistol plan is not very easy to obtain. It's one of the rare rewards from daily ops, and even when you do learn this plan, the chances to get the legendary version you want is quite low. But it's not impossible. Now, I have been very lucky in these past 2 months. I first got my hands on an Anti-Armor Crusader Pistol from a queen, then I looted a 1-star Bloodied from daily ops, and the most recent acquisition was made 2 weeks ago with this 3 stars Bloodied Hellstorm launcher. I'm showing you this because some people like to play legit while cheating, and I really want to stay away from that path as much as possible. Anyway, in this feature overview, I will be testing both Crusader pistols against several enemies to understand how viable this Brotherhood of Steel weapon really is. So sit tight and let's get started. Before we get into action, I need to show you my build so you know what has been used. I adjusted my strength build to fit the Crusader pistol. I used a hybrid build focused on pistol damage and VATS too. Ignore the strength tree here. We have concentrated fire on perception to obviously make VATS shots more powerful, and fireproof on endurance to ensure the fire damage won't fire back at us. Then on charisma, I need to highlight the tenderizer perk, which enables a bit more damage for the first 5 seconds. Then on intelligence, we have nerd rage, the big slice of Bloodied builds for that extra damage, defense, and AP regen. On agility, we have all the core perks, starting by the 60% extra pistol damage from the gunslinger perks, followed by the modern renegade, which boosts pistol accuracy and enables the crippling effect for pistols. Lastly, on luck, we have bloody mess for extra damage, as well as better criticals to boost VATS damage. And well, I also used Serendipity, Ricochet, and Deadman Sprinting as defensive perks. That's pretty much my selection here. Moreover, I know Gunfu can be a helpful perk for pistols, but I was testing mostly on one target at a time, so for testing purposes, I left it out. Let's not forget about legendary perks. I'm using mostly special perks paired with rank 4 of far-flung fireworks and taking one for the team. Both perks can increase your damage quite substantially. Something else I must add is that I benefit a lot from joining a team. I'm using herd mentality paired with strength in numbers. That's why I always tested as part of a team. This is a full list of my mutations as well, where adrenaline reaction is the most relevant one for this build. Lastly, I'm using a full unyielding armor set with 4 Secret Service pieces and 1 recon piece. No secrets to hide. I should also mention I did not use any foods or chems or any sort of buffs other than experience buffs during every test. These are my average attributes and defenses when I play with around 55 HP as part of a team. Alright, now that you know my build in full detail for this test, let's quickly go over the Crusader pistols. First of all, let me tell you that I modded both pistols exactly the same way, with a large magazine to avoid as many reloads as possible, as well as a standard short barrel and a short scope. It's the best combination to boost damage and boost accuracy as well. I also choose the Pyro mod to optimize damage output. It's the best one in my opinion because the Cryo mod provides a slow effect and the energy and 5.56 ammo has a slightly inferior damage base. So Pyro it is. That's the way. Now, at first glance, the Anti-Armor Pistol shows 134 base damage, while the Bloodied one shows 174. There's a significant difference there, exactly 40 damage to be exact. In theory, Bloodied is the winner right away in terms of base damage, but the Anti-Armor has way better legendary effects, since it's a 3 stars versus a 1 star. Plus, Anti-Armor is known for dealing increased damage than its base damage. So it's really time to get into action and test both pistols in combat. Let's pay a visit to some old friends, shall we? I mean ghouls and Scorched, of course. It takes only 4 hits to take down a level 60 Scorched. That's not much, considering how fast you can shoot this pistol. I'm shooting slowly so you can see the damage numbers, by the way. It's around 72 to 77 with the Anti-Armor Pistol. If we check level 60 Scorched with the Bloodied one, the damage goes up slightly. 79 and 86 was the standard hit damage. The crit damage differs in a similar way too. Here's a side-by-side on a level 50. The Bloodied is coming off with 91, 97, while the Anti-Armor deals 81 to 86, about 10 less damage per hit. I did a few more tests and it's clear that Bloodied wins here. Anti-Armor is usually dealing around 70 damage per hit, while Bloodied goes to 80-85 per hit, with lots of 120 crits. Moving on to Feral Ghouls now, I had a rather intriguing experience. The damage gap became much smaller. It almost felt like I was using the same exact pistol, but after taking a closer look at the damage numbers, there is a slight difference. The Anti-Armor Pistol usually dealt 69 to 74 damage per ghoul hit, while the Bloodied Pistol was dealing a bit more with 76 to 81 damage per ghoul hit. It's less than 10 damage difference. No wonder it felt basically the same at first, right? Anyway, both Scorched and Ghouls are easy targets for the Crusader Pistol, and for this category, Bloodied clearly wins, but it's too soon to draw any conclusions, so let's keep on testing. Now, let's kill some more humanoids. As soon as I started killing Blood Eagles, I noticed that the damage output is so much higher. In average, I only need 2-3 hits per kill. Now, that's what I'm talking about. The Anti-Armor fell behind a bit here though, which used about 100 to 130 damage per hit, while the Bloodied was going insane with steady 160 to over 200 damage per hit. True, these enemies were level 50, but still, just look at that, it's such a huge difference. I also did a side-by-side on a level 60 Blood Eagle, and as shown, the Anti-Armor was dealing 99 to 105 per hit, in contrast with Bloodied with 131 to 200. I guess the fire damage is highly effective against humans. Next, we have the Cultists, which present a very similar result, but not as extreme. Each anti-armor hit was going for 100 to 110 damage on level 60 and 75 enemies, while the Bloodied was dealing more damage with 119 to 124 per hit. About 20 more. It did feel like Bloodied was doing slightly more damage here, to be honest with you. Here's a side-by-side comparison on a level 60 Cultist, and it's once again clear that Bloodied doesn't cease to impress. Okay, so far we concluded that Bloodied is more effective than anti-armor against humanoid enemies. But what about creatures? Most of them are highly resilient, so let's start by killing some wolves. Well, steady 100 to 105 damage is what the Anti-Armor Pistol does to this level 75 wolf. The Bloodied Pistol deals a bit more damage with 120 to 127 per hit. If we move to a lower target, level 60, the Anti-Armor deals slightly more, 112 to 118 damage, in contrast with Bloodied with some insane 137 to 200 damage. As a result, you need a few less hits per wolf kill with Bloodied than with Anti-Armor. I also did a quick test on level 60 Mongrels and the results were identical. 112 to 118 with the Anti-Armor Pistol and 137 to 146 with Bloodied. That's over 25 damage difference, not bad. Next, I moved to some blood bugs, and for my surprise, the anti-armor performed not so well, with an average of 111 damage per hit, in contrast with 191 damage per hit from the Bloodied gun. Wow. Lastly, I went into floater territory to understand my anti-armor pistol deals 128 to 135 damage per hit to level 75 floaters. Pretty impressive. They take a while to go down though, about 6 to 7 hits are required. Anyhow, with Bloodied it was a quick job. I needed only 4 to 5 hits per kill, while dealing steady 168 damage. That's over 30 damage difference, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I think Bloodied wins once again. Let's increase the difficulty here. What about anglers and gulpers? These creatures are known for being tough with high defenses. I must confess that I struggled quite a lot. Each kill required about 20 hits with both guns, so it's not very ideal. With the anti-armor, I was dealing 63 damage per hit as average on this level 50 angler, which is really low, the lowest we had so far. Now in contrast, the Bloodied was nothing much better. The average hit was 65 to 69, basically the same. So this is when the anti-armor starts to claim territory, I think. I did the side-by-side on a level 60 angler as well, a bit tougher, but the damage hardly changed. I think there's no winner here, it's a very close one. Now let's check Gulpers against level 61s as well. With the Anti-Armor Pistol, I dealt 97 to 103 damage per hit, much higher than the Angler tests at least, so that's a plus. Then with the Bloodied Pistol, the damage went up as shown with 116 to 123 per hit. Again, we have a significant difference with about 20 damage between the two effects. I must confess here, Gulpers were going down much faster with the Bloodied version. It also required less hits as a result. So with a draw and a win, I think this category also belongs to Bloodied. What about Super Mutants, one of the most common enemy in the Wasteland? They are also heavily armored, and at first it felt like both guns were going the same way, as in doing the same damage. I can totally understand why after analyzing the footage. Anti-armor stick to 59 to 63 damage per hit on level 75 mutants, while Bloodied was dealing 59 to 64. Well, that's odd and basically the same. In this side-by-side test, again versus a level 75, the anti-armor dealt 86 to 91 damage per hit, while Bloodied was dealing 93 to 99, a bit superior but not that much. On a lower mutant, level 60, we have similar results. Anti-armor with around 60 to 65 damage, and Bloodied went down to 59 damage per hit. It's way too close. And honestly, I don't think there's a winner here yet. Everything is just very close. Even the gameplay itself, it felt no different at all between switching the guns. At least the mutant dog is weaker to bloody damage. That's the only clear conclusion so far. Moreover, I tested on a 3 stars legendary, and here anti-armor fell behind a little bit. It was dealing an average of 56 damage per hit as shown, while Bloodied was with an average of 64 damage. Again, nothing special, the difference is minimal, and I think we should check the Behemoth. Alright, with anti-armor, the hits were ranging mostly from 78 to 116 damage, which is thankfully far better than the normal mutant damage, but since this is a big boy, a very big one, it takes dozens of bullets to take him down with both weapons. However, with Bloodied, things are a bit faster because each hit dealt mostly 96 to 125 damage. I wouldn't say the difference is abysmal, but the Behemoth went down quite faster with a Bloodied gun than anti-armor. Anyway, I will call it for Bloodied. I know the existing differences are minimal, but they do exist, and it would be silly to ignore the facts, as small as they are. Now, this wouldn't be a complete test without killing a few Deathclaws and Mirelurk queens, right? I started by triggering this lovely queen just to find myself stuck into an endless battle. Please don't try this at home. for safety reasons. It's really difficult to run and jump in order to avoid the queen's attacks while using VAT hits. So damage comparison is a bit impossible here, since I had to free aim and hits are scattered across her torso, limbs and head. It also depends on the range, and I'm always too close, too far, never at the same range to test. So yeah, overall it felt the same as fighting super mutants. The damage is very similar. Even on side-by-side comparisons, you can see the damage numbers are not very far off from one another. And since you deal such low amounts of damage with both guns, it's quite imperceptible to understand which gun is the best one. I mean, you need over 100 hits to kill this Mirelurk queen with both guns, so I really don't think the Crusader gun is suitable for this job. I say it's another draw. Let's check the Deathclaw. I really thought I would get my butt slapped here, but that didn't happen, thankfully. The Anti-Armor Pistol dealt an average of 77 damage per hit, and with about 30 hits I managed to take the beast down. On the other hand, with the Bloodied gun, things went much better. The average damage was 102 per hit, and it required only 13 bullets to get the job done. Less than half than Anti-Armor. Well, that's a huge difference, don't you think so? Well, we are down to a few tests left. Now, let's check with a normal Scorched beast. I found this bugged one, which is ideal for testing purposes because I could stay at the same exact distance from it while shooting both guns, aiming at the torso, for example. With the Anti-Armor Pistol, the average hit damage was 22, extremely low, I know, but it's not like Bloodied did a much better job. The average hit damage was only 2 more, 24. Yeah, here's a side-by-side test, which clearly shows how to tickle a Scorched beast in 2021. Anyway, I got closer and aimed for the head this time. With Anti-Armor, I was dealing crits ranging from 62 to 128, much better. In contrast, the Bloodied gun was also to pull crits ranging from 56 to 144. Well, isn't that another extremely balanced result? I also tested with the beast on the floor, hitting her head, and both results were identical. The crit damage was basically on the same exact ranges, which means there is no winner here either. Both weapons struggle hard against Scorched beasts, and that's a given fact. Alright, now it's time for the final tests, the moment of truth. How does the Crusader Pistol performs against the Scorched Beast Queen and Earl Williams? Well, for starters, make sure not to hit the queen in the air, because you deal basically 5 damage or less. Secondly, you might want to get really close and aim for the head, but for testing purposes I focused the torso first, and the average hit from similar distances was on Anti-Armor 7 to 9 damage per hit, and with Bloodied we had 9 to 10 damage per hit. Oh dear. On the second test, a bit closer, I hit her rear, and with the Anti-Armor Pistol I dealt 11 to 16 damage per hit, and with Bloodied it went up from 17 to 24. Well, that's quite a surprise. Here's a quick side-by-side to make things even more evident. Anyway, testing this on a queen was a nightmare because queens normally go down within 1 minute these days on public servers, which doesn't give me a lot of time to test properly, and if I go into private worlds, the queen will just one-hit me if it ever lands, so it was extremely bothersome. Also, with such low damage, you risk losing the event rewards, like it happened to me here. I hit the queen dozens of times, but it was not enough to trigger the event rewards as shown. It was too low damage. And yes, I was here from the start, so I really don't recommend the Crusader Pistol for this event. Anti-Armor or Bloodied, it doesn't matter. It's no bueno here, and that's it. Moving forward, what about Earl? Well, I cannot say things get any better there, as to be expected. I started by free hitting using my scope, and with Anti-Armor I got an amazing 5 to 13 damage per hit. Way to go, really impressive. In a bad way though. If we stick to Bloodied, the damage per hit ranges from 6 to 12. So again, it's like using the same pistol. When focusing one of the heads, I was dealing an average of 12 to 14 damage per hit with Anti-Armor, and with Bloodied, 11 to 16, excluding crits of course. We have contradicting data here, so I went ahead and did one last test on the torso, side by side. With Anti-Armor, I dealt 8 to 13 damage per hit, as shown, and with Bloodied, it was ranging from 7 to 10 mostly, which once again proves Anti-Armor is a bit more effective against Earl than Bloodied. It's a known fact for weapons in general, but not by much more in this case. I mean, we are talking about such low values. Well, at least when it comes to the Wendigo spawns, Bloodied seems to be slightly more effective than Anti-Armor, but as usual, not by much. The difference is about 10 to 20 damage per hit, and it's mostly noticeable at close range. I also don't recommend the Crusader Pistol for this boss fight. It's way too weak, and it will just slow down the entire event. Final conclusion, Anti-Armor or Bloodied? That's the question, and my answer is both or none. Let me explain. There are not a lot of pistol players out there for a reason. Pistols are kinda weak in 76, and with dozens of weapons that perform better, why would you include pistols as part of your main weapon collection? Unless you are a truly devoted pistol fan, of course. Then the Crusader Pistol is basically a collectible. It looks great, it sounds great, but in terms of damage, it's nothing special, even as Anti-Armor or Bloodied. At most, I recommend you to use either of these pistols to farm common enemies. They are highly effective against humanoid enemies, for example, and as shown in the tests. Plus, 10mm ammo is very cheap and easy to craft. But when it comes to elite creatures and bosses, it's a no-go. Really, don't waste your time trying. And as obvious, if you have a non-bloodied build, the Anti-Armor will be perfect for you. On the other hand, if you have a bloodied build, then a Bloodied Crusader Pistol is going to deal a bit more damage than Anti-Armor in general, but again, it's nothing major. So due to the rarity of this gun, if you manage to put your hands on one or the other, you should know that both present a really close damage output, at least with the build I have presented to you. Well, that was a long overview, but a necessary one. I started this video with half the tests and I was quite confused about what conclusions to draw, so I decided to expand the enemy list, and I'm glad I did, because otherwise I would probably have come to a different conclusion. Anyway, that's it for this one. One last note, keep in mind I didn't use the Genfu perk for a reason. It's not suitable for testing purposes on single targets at once, but in normal gameplay, you should definitely use it for pistols. Now, I hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if that was the case. And you can always support me even further if you want to keep me creating such content. If you want to do so, the links are always below the video. I am Marta Branco, thanks for watching, and thanks to all my dear supporters, you guys rock. I will see you all very, very soon in the next one. Until then, take care, adios, bye bye!